Hi, everybody, and I'd like to welcome a friend of mine, a dear friend now, big Arsenal man on this. Who are you? It's Lee Judges. How are you, Lee?
Hey, how you doing, Kev? Yeah, all right, thank you. You good?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I was looking forward to doing this with you because this is the first Who Are You? And
Yeah.
obviously, we do the Kevin Campbell show on AFTV, but this is something a little bit different. This is something we've kind of worked up in our head that I'm going to get people on who people know, but they don't know enough about, I don't think, because, you've made a name for yourself, obviously speaking and with passion about Arsenal, but not a lot of people know you, do they?
No, not a lot of people, like, not a lot of
Not a
people.
lot of people know that,
I don't
so
know, I don't know if people know
not a lot
that.
of people know that. So you haven't got the goggles on today, which is
No, I should go on really, shouldn't I? Like, you know what I mean? So,
well, you
not a
could
lot
have.
of people know that.
Not a lot of people know that. So Lee, look, what I'd like to do is I've got 10 questions I'd like
Yep.
to go through just to kind of just is the first one. We're gonna have a feel of it. What was your first ever game watching Arsenal at Highbury?
Come on. Do you know what, Kev? This is unbelievable because I don't know. I was trying to think of it. I actually went round and seen my dad yesterday. So like, oh, can you remember the game? And he couldn't as well because what it was like my family, like my mum's side is all Tottenham.
Yeah.
And all my dad's side were Arsenal. So what was happening in those days? You could go to one game one week, one game the other, and like my granddad would take us to Spurs,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, that was if I was a naughty boy, I used to go to Spurs.
That's
But then
before
I'd
you
go
knew anything. Yeah.
before you knew anything, and then like the following week you go to Arsenal, and the players that I remember back in the day then were John Radford at Arsenal. I remember watching him, and Peter Chivers down at Spurs.
Yeah.
And both good centre forwards on the day. But it was for me
Was that
what made
Martin?
me
Martin Chivers. Was that Martin?
Martin. Who did I say?
Peter Chivers.
Martin Short, Peter. What was I thinking of?
I don't know.
Thinking of. Don't know. Yeah, Martin Chivers.
Yeah,
Of
Martin
course,
Chivers. Yeah.
it was a quality centre forward, and for me, the red and white shirt stung it, Kev. It was just that's what it was. Nothing else. It was I could have easily have been a Spurs fan, but it was just the red and white shirts going down there, and that's why I chose Arsenal. So one day I just turned around to me granddad and said, "No, it's not for me going down." It was all going down to Spurs one day, and I said, "No, I'll rather stay at home and do the washing or something like, you know what I mean?" So that's how it was. So and that is how I become an Arsenal fan and started going from there.
So, Lee, who was your favourite player as a boy?
Favourite player as a boy growing up was 1976. I remember the cup final was when Man United were playing. Stuart Pearson was a big favourite of mine. And
Yeah.
I've met him, which was, he used to give it the old fist.
Give
And
it
all
the
that,
old fist to the
That was unreal, wasn't it? Like, so I think there was a little connection with him. But then when obviously like going to the Arsenal, two players stick out, two Irish players from Republic of Ireland, Liam Brady, because just was an awesome player. But there was always something about the number 9 as well, like, and Frank Statement would have to be the other one, like, So, like, they were my two favourites, and of course, obviously, one left for Juventus, one left for Man United, and I've sort of been getting used to that ever since, like,
Yeah,
So,
I know. Well, they were
yeah,
my two favourites as well at the time.
it's unreal,
Uh,
isn't it? Well, I imagine there'd be a lot of people's favourites.
yeah, because they were the mainstay, really, weren't they? You had the
Yeah,
defence and Frank McClintock and all these guys back in the day, but those two really, when they came through, it was like, yeah, these are. You could relate to them, can't you? You could relate to them.
being like coming through the ranks and all that, like, Liam Brady, wand of a left foot, like, was absolutely superb. But yeah, just them two really. Alan Sunderland, of course, for his goal in '79 was a big favourite as well. Like, I loved them all, I mean. But they were the two real standouts. I used to be on the playground, and I didn't have a left foot, so I ended up being Frank Stapleton more than
Brady. Yeah. Lee, was your dad a Gooner? And could you tell us?
Massive.
Yeah, could you tell us a little story about you and him going to the games?
Like massive fan. I'll tell the story when we was we still talk about it now. We were we decided to go on to an away game, Ipswich, about 83, 84. Charlie Nicholas was playing there. That's when we started following the Arsenal. So he said that he'd take us. So there's me, Mark. You've met Mark, you know,
Yeah,
when we
met
were
Mark, lovely guy, yeah.
lovely guy. So we and his brother Gary, big Arsenal fans. We goes up to Ipswich. So we goes there into Portman Road. Brilliant atmosphere at Portman Road. Back in the 80s, all the way through. It's always been a great place. So we said, "Oh, we're going to go." And my dad turns around and says, "Oh, I'm not having that. I'm going to go in the seats." And there's no trouble in the seats, you know what I mean? I'm going to go in there, and that's where I'm going to be. So he's gone up and paid a little bit extra up in the seats, and we're in the stands behind the goal. And we're honestly, Kev, within about the first 5 minutes, it's all kicked off in the seats, where it's like it was unbelievable, fighting for 90 minutes. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
So anyway, we come out of the ground and we're waiting by the car, and we're waiting there for ages. And then my dad ain't coming, and I get a bit worried now. Like, and all of a sudden he comes down. He had a little bit of air then at the time, you know what I mean? It was all over the place. He said, "Get in the car." He said, "That is the last time I ever go to a away game." He said, all I've done for 90 minutes is fight. Fight to survive, you know what I mean? Like, so, and to be honest, and he never went again. He never went. He still go to Highbury,
But not away.
Never went to another away game, like. So from then on, we had to start making our own way to games, like, you know.
You had to avoid the tractor boys.
Yeah, we had to avoid the tractor boys. It was a little bit lively in their day back then as well, like.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so,
Oh, yeah. There were quite a few, weren't there? There were quite.
Yeah, there was a few, like, you know. So
Lee, this is a question. I really want to hear your view on it, because I think it's really important for people who are going to be listening to this. Tell me your Highbury experience on a Saturday at 3 o'clock for a 3 o'clock kickoff.
Well, 3 o'clock, you'd have to get there, you know what I mean? Because it's not like it is now. We had our own little space in the North Bank behind the goal, about 3/4 of the way up. And sometimes you'd go with your mates, like, but other times you'd go. You couldn't get there on the same time, but you'd always meet in that same place. And that I was a little bit, you know, we'd go for a few beers before, like when I was a little bit older. But when I was young, we'd just go on the. I don't know if you know the 279 bus, which would take us from Waltham Cross, you know, to
all the way down.
All the way down to if you got the Smithfield one, it'd take you past, but sometimes they stopped at Manor House, and then you then have to walk on from there. Great, you know, just walking down through Finsbury Park and that way there. And obviously, then once you've had a few a bit older, you go in and have a few beers in the pins. But it was like the Arsenal Tavern was because it was more nearer the ground.
Very popular, very popular. Very popular in the day,
and the Gunners were the main two that we'd go in, like, you know, a couple of beers. And then, you know, obviously, like, down to Highbury, into the ground, and it was just something about that place, wasn't there? It was awesome, and the greatest, and I still say this is a big miss. You know, you're obviously fortunate enough to play on the hallowed turf, but the last game of the season, they let you go on the pitch. Do you remember those days?
Yeah.
Like, so you'd get on the pitch and you touch it, and just, you know, pretending you was banging one in the North Bank and all things like that. Do you know what I mean? And then they stopped doing that, and I think that's a bad thing, you know. Like, but that was always sort of a tradition down at Highbury. You was allowed to go on the pitch on the last game of the season, and everybody just walked around on it. You know, fantastic memories, fantastic.
Yeah, Lee, that's a great shout about running on the pitch. I think you remember back then the pitches used to go quite a bit quite bald.
Yeah.
And what they used to do, they used to relay it every summer.
Yeah.
But I don't think they do that now because they invest so much money into the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So letting fans on now, I don't think that's the.
No, it's not going to happen. But like, you know, one of those things that we was blessed to have. You know what I mean? And you going back in those days, I wouldn't want to miss the last game of the season just because of that. You know what I mean? Just to have a walk on. You know, that was the only time you was allowed on it, and it was just something special about going on it. And as you say, like, you know, you played on it when it was grass, but towards the end of the season, it didn't matter. Like,
it got bald, but
you know what I mean? But it was you was allowed. It was just a fantastic
tradition. It was tradition, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then you'd have it in your head, the ball's coming across, and you know what I mean, banging it in, and great days, great days. You know, sorely missed.
Lee, could you tell me how your day went, the evening / night of the 26th of May,
Oh,
1989. Because,
what a game.
you know, it's every Gooner I speak to obviously has a different take on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what was your day like, night like, evening?
Well, they led to believe there must have been 100,000 Gooners went down there that day. Like, you know what I mean? If everybody believes what they're saying, but I didn't go. You know, you know, Steve, and he did decide to go. I've always been jealous for that. I had an opportunity to go, but being a Friday night and all that, and really couldn't afford. You know, money was a bit tight, and I didn't think we was going to win. So, you know, I remember going on the Wednesday night, coming down, and that's it. We'd blown it when we drew 2-2 with Wimbledon. But so what happened was we had a load of people around my house that day, all that didn't go. We sort of went round my house, and no champagne or anything like that because we just didn't think it was going to happen, Kev. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I always, you know, relate it to the fever pitch. It's so that the film when we went 1-0 up, we was turning around and saying like, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Just froze a little bit.
it
That's
just
all you
froze a
did.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember like we went 1-0 up and. Yeah, everybody's going, oh, that's typical Arsenal. You know, we're gonna win 1-0 and lose it and all that. And then obviously that last minute goal was unbelievable. And then
Lee, can I just stop? Can I just interject there?
Go
So,
on.
do you remember John Barnes went on a mazy dribble?
Yeah.
The ball's in John Lukic's hands. So, you know, you could see everybody, the coaches on the side waving them forward. And then obviously there's that famous commentary, you know, Lukic to Dixon.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking at the time?
Just when you know when it went over, you know, because he'd missed one a bit earlier, just
Yeah,
before
that's
that.
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was probably in the middle of slagging him off. Oh, like it's just gone to Nicky Thomas again, like, you know. But when it broke, I don't know how everybody else. Everything stopped. It
Slow
was
motion.
like just like slow motion. And me being the gooner that I am, as soon as he scored, like, you know, I'm worried about they're going to go and nick one there and all that. Like, do you know what I mean? All worried. But I remember everybody going mad. Like, and my dad, you know, like on the floor crying because he thought he'd never see it again. And you know, for me, it's the first time I've ever seen it that we're going to win the league. But there was still about a minute to go after that. Like,
That's right. Yeah.
You know, anyway, when they won it, and it's not like it is on Sky now. There was only about, as soon as they won it, they showed the title, and then it was finished. It was off the telly, like, you know what I mean. And we was all going mad, and you know, well, can't finish it at this. What are we going to do, like, you know what I mean? And someone said, well, let's get down to Highbury. Let's get down there. You know, it's going to be going. It's going to be happening down there, like, so. You know, a couple of us were saying, "Oh, do you reckon it will be?" And all like that. Oh, does it matter? Let's just go. So we just jumped in a car. I don't know who drove down. I can't remember now. Like, got to about Manor House, parked up down there, and the place was going mental. You know what I mean? It was absolutely mental. And when you got by the stadium, it was exactly like it was like in Fever Pitch. You know what I mean? You know, when they're going to Fever Pitch, I said, "Well, that can't be real," because that's where I was standing around there. Like, you know what I mean? And it was just a party atmosphere that you'd never seen, and you know, that will always be the greatest day as an Arsenal fan because of what it meant, what it done. And I remember coming home. You'd be on the coach coming back now, but we must have been about 1 o'clock coming home now. A couple of cans of Foster's or whatever. I don't even think it was Foster. Just walking down the road and just saying. And I think they actually say that in the film, like, you know, that it ain't going to get no better than this, and that's exactly what we were saying. It's not going to ever get any better than what we're doing here, like, you know. So, it was an unbelievable day, and then of course you had I think on the Sunday the parade.
Parade, yeah.
You couldn't get near it, Kev. You know, like the town hall could not get anywhere near it. It was like, you know, I think people would have been getting up about 5 o'clock in the morning to be there to get those front seats. You know what I mean? Like, it was just an awesome day, absolutely awesome.
And it took a month. It took such a huge effort to unseat that Liverpool side, because that Liverpool side were really good, weren't they? They were amazing.
They was an amazing side. You know, I don't think if anybody says about that, they was an ultimate team. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you wouldn't say that they had superstar players, probably John Barnes and that, but you know, John Aldridge was a good pro, you know, but they had some fantastic. That was just a fantastic team. Steve McMahon, by the way, in midfield, was a quality player as
Ronnie
well. You know,
Whelan, he was
Ronnie
great.
Whelan.
You know, you look at the defense, the Steve Nicol, all
Oh,
them
yeah,
boys.
yeah.
Listen,
You
they were
know,
loaded, mate. They were
but
loaded.
yeah, they was a good side, and you know they obviously went on and won it the next year. Before obviously winning it in '91, which was special as well because it showed that we had the power to go on again. You know,
Yeah.
so but like yeah, they were great battles. We had fantastic battles with Liverpool. Fantastic.
Lee, number 6 now we're on. What's your favourite away trip, including result if possible, back then, and your favourite now?
Well, do you know what? Always the favourite ground for me, and uh, I was upset when it went, and that was Upton Park. There was just something about Upton Park. It was like a real, you know, you're laughing at
Lively. It was lively,
it was
mate.
lively.
It was
It was very,
lively.
very lively, very, very hostile, particularly in the 80s. But it got better as it went on. But it was always an electrifying atmosphere, and we always used to do fairly well out there, if I'll be honest. You know what I mean? So I
But
think that
it
made
was
me,
always a good game of football there, wasn't it?
yeah,
Always.
it was. You know, we lost. We won more than we lost. But then when we lost, you had to, you know, swallow it. And you know, it was easier to get home when you lost. I must admit, like, I mean, that was a great stadium, and you know, it's such a shame that it's not there no more. Like all the other stadiums, I suppose. But I always think that was probably the ground that I enjoyed the most. Atmosphere. It was right on top of the crowd as well. Like, you know, if you'd score or something like that, you'd run in. Always seen the players run into the crowd as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because you was getting close. So I think that Upton Park was probably the one, like, you know.
that's great. So Lee, just for a little change, tell us about Tiny Tours
So Honey Tours.
and how you got to be a part of it.
Uh, well, Tiny Tours is like what we do is we hire a coach out, and there's about 20 members, I suppose, now. To become a member, you just got to go on a tour, you know.
Right.
And what happens with the tour is we hire the coach out. Tony hires the tour, does all that sort of stuff. We've got a couple of drivers, me and Russ, because I don't drink so much.
Yeah.
So what you do with that, and then you just jump on. And like it's very hard to get tickets for some of the games now. So we try and like the big games, we try and get like Manchester City or Newcastle, teams like that that have got big crowds. And what you have to do to get on, you have to select 3 songs that you want, which then gets put onto the
Playlist.
playlist, like, you know what I mean, then they come, and so when you go up there and on the way back down, your record your 3 records will come on, like, you know, and if they're good records, you get accepted, you know.
What happens if they're shocking?
Well, you have to sing them, like, you know, like
Oh, really?
Tommy had Justin Bieber, and he had to sing it, like, you know what I mean? So, and it has to go, it gets recorded and goes
Oh
out on
no.
Facebook and all that, like, you know. So, to his credit, he done it, like, you know. So, and it's a good thing. We just go up there, have a few beers, and we pulled up one time, and Jens Lehmann was getting out when we went to Nottingham Forest, you know, when they beat us in the cup a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, and he was a coach, and he had all his photos done with us on the bus and all that, like, you know.
Lovely.
So there's sort of things that can happen with away games, you know. So you never know who you're going to meet, Kev.
No, true, very true. So Lee, number 8, when did you start traveling home and away? Obviously, I
Well,
know you went when you were younger, but actually
yeah,
traveling home and away every week.
would have been about 5-6 years ago, or maybe six years ago. Once I stopped playing football,
Yeah.
stopped playing football, done a bit of coaching and all that, and then I just started going. I always said that, and once I finished playing, I'd go and start going again, give me something to do and getting back into it and all that. Like, so it was about 5 or 6 years ago that I started going every home and away game, like, you know. So and I love it. I love the away games. There's something special about them. You know, going away from home with the Arse. Even though the results haven't been so great lately, Kev. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they're always great. And obviously Tottenham's a fantastic one to go to. But yeah, I've always, if I could go, even when I was playing, you know, like in a day, you know, like Arsenal would have a Sunday game or a Monday game, I'd manage to get me tickets and get a ticket for the
Get a
game. So
ticket and
that's what
go.
I've done, like, you know.
Yeah. Number 9. Here's a good one for you, Lee.
Go
What
ahead.
do you think the main differences between those Highbury days and the modern day Arsenal are?
Oh, well, where do you want to
I know
start?
it's I know you could touch on quite a few things, but from someone who's actually done the Highbury experience and somebody who is now doing the Emirates new wave, the
Yeah.
main differences.
Well, I think one of the main differences is the connection with the players. I don't. And you might think this is silly like that, but you felt more connected with the players um, when it was higher. Now everybody talks about when Danny Welbeck jumped into the stands against Leicester and all that, like what a great time that was. But that happened a lot of times
Regular, yeah.
regular with Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like I remember being a schoolboy, like the players would talk to you along the Sammy Nelson was, how you doing, boys, and all that, like as he was
Yeah,
picking up the throw and things like that. And to the days where you and Ian used to pile into the crowd on a regular basis,
yeah,
like behind the North Bank, and so there was that, I think it was that little bit of the connection of the players. You could associate more with the players, like they're more. I know it sounds silly, but you felt they're more real.
more
You know what I
approachable,
mean?
more
More
approachable.
approachable. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that there is that side of it. Like years ago, you could walk around Highbury and one of the players would come walking out or something like. You know what I mean? You don't see that now. They're all sort of like, they come out of that tunnel thing, don't they?
Yeah.
And off they go in their cars at underground car park and all that. So I think that would probably be one of the real main things from that. Like, I think it's just the closeness of the community of Arsenal and Highbury was always special.
Lee, do you think there's a difference in the fan experience as well? Because, like you mentioned, a lot of fans used to meet up and used to see the same people in the same spot.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
That's a brilliant point. That's probably one. Even now to the day, there's about 10 of us that go. We have a drink first of all and all that, and then when we get to the Tony Adams statue
yeah,
at the Emirates, we go right. We'll see you down a pub afterwards. See where like Dan goes with Alan somewhere. Tony goes round his way. Steve goes his way. Ken and Russ go their way, and then there's me goes my way. So we don't. If we was all like back in the old days, you'd all be in the same part of the North
section.
Bank
Yeah, still be in the
and
same
meet,
section.
So that is a big thing, like and if but when you're away, I know you shouldn't do this, but away from home, sometimes you all try and stand together anyway, where the ticket says you're not, and because you can stand, it's a lot easier, like
Yeah,
and you can all get that atmosphere going a little bit, like So that's a fantastic point, and that's probably one of the experiences that the younger generation don't have, where you
yeah.
could conjugate, meet 10 mates and they'd all say, oh, well, we'll all meet at that part of the North Bank and that would be fantastic, so that's a good point.
Well, on that one, I'm going to get back to something on that because just leave it. There's going to be a question 11
Right,
for
okay.
you, which I'm gonna
Right,
keep.
okay.
Lee, if you could change three things at the Arsenal, what would they be?
Well, the owner would be one,
Right, the older.
I'm going to have to say, you know what I mean? An owner ideally that loves Arsenal. I know that's not going to be happening, but that's what I would like. I'm going to say it. I'd change the ground. If there was, well, I know it's never going to happen, but if we could go back to Highbury, I'd be more than happy. Like, that would probably be it. Like, third one, off the top of my head, probably like, the ambition of the club. I think that's changed over. We've become more of a business, so I'd like us to go back to being a football club. If that makes sense. I think
Yeah,
that it's more about what we earn now and all this that's gone on, Kev. Even now, with what's happening out there with the virus now. Arsenal are claiming to be skint. They ain't got no money. Where's this self-sustaining model? Where was it? Where is all the money? So they're the things that I would like. I would personally like to change.
well, Lee, um, look, I love what you're saying about that. I think the ambition of the club and the fact that it is a business can coexist. I think, fair enough, you can be a football club and you can be a business. But what you've got to do, you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
And I don't think Arsenal have had a good plan for years. And that's why we're seeing now the investment in the team and all that kind of thing. We're always having to sell our players. Why? Because the plan hasn't been right.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So, that's a really good point. Just on that thing about the Highbury and meeting up with the friends, etc. Lee, and I'm going to turn this in. It was only going to be 10 questions, but I'm going to chuck a little curveball in.
Go on then.
Because of this lockdown, and the economic situation with a lot of people, it's going to affect a lot of people. Could there be a cloud, a silver lining in this cloud, and there might be an opportunity for clubs to open up safe standing areas, because some people won't be able to afford, one, the season ticket, or two, the tickets for the games.
That's a fantastic point. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't. How can you say people have been out of work for so long and then say to them, "Oh, you've got to pay your season ticket and all that"? So I think hopefully that the clubs will look at something like that to try and do. I've been very, very fortunate, the same as you, from a footballing fans' point of view, that we've experienced the terraces, we've experienced the seats. I know for the reasons of Hillsborough that we had to do that.
Yeah.
But and if they could bring it into a safe standing thing now and make it more accessible for the less fortunate, that can't afford to go week in, week out, then fantastic. And do you know what? I'm in my 50s now, and if they had stay standing, I think I'd have to give it a go, Kev. You know what I mean?
You'd have to go in there, definitely.
I'd have to go. I mean, you go to. We've been to away games. You never sit down, do you?
No.
The only time you sit down is at half-time. So everybody stands anyway, and it's a bit funny, when they turn around and say about atmosphere. It's not the same at home where it is away from home. Well, because you've got the away fans are all out stand up and sing and whatever, and the home fans are being told to sit down all the time.
Told to sit down all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's something that could be used. And listen, if it's safe and I think football's never been quite the same atmosphere-wise since the terraces went. Let's be honest, that is a fact. But if they could bring back safe standing and all that, I'd definitely be for it. Yeah.
I just think it's been tested, it's been tried. We know Dortmund have it, we know Celtic have it, and it works perfectly there.
Yeah.
So I think clubs should look to be a lot more flexible and to help fans now.
Yeah, and of course then it could bump up the crowd even more, couldn't it? I think what Highbury become when it was all seater 38,000. I remember going in there when it's 57,000 against Liverpool. Back in my dad's time, even more people used to get in there like that.
Was that the unofficial?
The unofficial, and I might have been
yeah, 40,000 capacity or just above, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so exactly. Typical Arsenal. But they were great, so I think that'd be a great thing to go back to. I'd love to see that,
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Well, Lee, I've got to say, we're done already. And you
know
what?
Already,
that's half an hour gone, or just under. And that went so quick. Listen, I look forward to having you on again because, I just really enjoy speaking Arsenal. And I think we're gonna be doing more of these talk in general as well. Because, football, we miss football, don't we?
Yeah, we miss it. I'll tell you what, for the first time, really, Kev, I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I missed it Sunday. Now it was Spurs versus Arsenal.
Big
it was
time.
A sunny day. Do you know what I mean? And parts of the day when it was 2:00, I think, we'll be in the pins now. And then at 3:00, we'll be walking down to the ground or whatever. So I was obviously it's going to come back, and we're going to have to go behind closed doors. So be it. For a lot of people are saying that they don't want that, but for me, I think that's what's got to go first of all. We've got to ease our way back into it, and I don't think there's nothing we can do about that. It'd be really funny watching games on telly. For me, it'd be very unusual, So I don't like watching them on telly because you get to see all the little things that go wrong in the games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but not only that, with empty stands. That's the other one,
isn't it? How do you feel about that as a player playing you know, it's like playing a reserve game. Do you remember back in the day, wasn't it? Like, you
Yeah,
know?
listen, I'll be honest with you, Lee. Put myself in where my son is right now.
Yeah.
Empty stadiums, I don't care. I just want to get out and
Play.
play.
Yeah, just to play, like, yeah, exactly.
Because you see, there's that frustration element because you can't do your job. Hopefully, you know, the boys are starting to get back into training slowly now. But there's got to be something at the end. And once there's games and you've missed it so much, I don't think the lads are going to worry. Get the 9 or 10 games out of the way, then reassess after that.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, you'll probably know as well. Like, you know, when you're training every day, you know, it is for that game at the end of the week, isn't it? Like, you know, that's what you're training for. And if you're training and you ain't got that game, it's going to be tough for the players.
Could do the Sweden, could do the heading, mate.
Yeah,
And a lot
yeah,
of them, a
definitely.
lot of players. Well, you could see a lot of the players trying to get out and trying to do something, you know, and to the detriment of, you know, some people are calling them out. But they must be going spare because you
Yeah,
spend most of your time outside. Because you're in your routinely. You know, you go to training, everything's set out for you. You know what you're doing, and then now it's all on you. So it
yeah,
must be hard. It's hard.
exactly. And a lot of people don't realise that it's, you know, they're young men as well, teenagers to 30, 35. You know, like our mindset now is completely different to what it was back in the younger days. You know, when
Yeah.
you was like to do what you want to do. So it must be tougher for the younger generation than it is for the old ones. Like, you know,
I'll be
so
honest, Lee. I'd have been out playing football. I swear. I, I
yeah,
I couldn't stay in. Oh, there's no way I'd stay in. I'd be
no.
out playing football.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's all you did, didn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, every now and then a couple of them have you know, like messed up a little bit, but I understand that, you know. So, you know, I don't condemn them for that. You know, they've made a mistake, but you know, they just want to get back playing and all that. And hopefully, as I say, and I think it's a great point you make there. It is their work. You
It's
know,
a
it's like
job,
when
yeah.
people say it's their job. So it's all right saying like, oh, I'm going to go down the shop and open up the shop today and whatever, like, you know, no one seems to think that's bad. Oh, well, but them playing football, oh, it's totally wrong. Like, it's not. It's their job.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that, you know, that's how it is, and you know, let's just hope it gets back sooner or later. You know, safely, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Definitely. But Lee, thanks for letting us in to get to know you a little bit on
No
who
problem.
are
No
you,
worries.
and hopefully I'm looking forward to having you on again for part 2, mate.
No worries. Look forward to it, Kev. Like, thanks for having us on. Like, appreciate it.
Cheers, Lee. Thanks, mate.